Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. I had so much fun doing the last one a couple of days back that I thought I would mix another one here. This one though has to do with an urban legend that I've already talked about in the past. This was back in 2018, so 7 years ago. Time surely does fly fast when you think about it, right? This one though is the urban legend involving the guy who was there in a metro station playing a violin and the viral news associated with it. On that one, I was comparing information here and there, and I had decided, to give my own thoughts and opinions on it as well. Here, though, is the entire urban legend as is, word for word, in other words. So I thought it would make a great way to showcase this topic again, give my own thoughts and opinions on it. It's such a great story, too, that I definitely wanted to share it too one more time. And let me know, as always, what you guys and gals think. You're looking at a representation of it now. It's known, or the urban legend is titled, Listen to the Music in the Metro. So here's what it says. A man sat at a metro station in Washington, D.C. and started to play the violin. It was a cold January morning. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, since it was rush hour, it was calculated that 1,100 people went through the station, most of them on their way to work. 3 minutes went by, and a middle-aged man noticed that there was a musician playing. And so he slowed his pace and stopped for a few seconds and then hurried up to meet his schedule. A minute later, the violinist received his first dollar tip. A woman threw the money in the till and without stopping, continued to walk. A few minutes later, someone leaned against the wall to listen to him, but that man looked at his watch and then started to walk again. Clearly, he was late for work. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy. His mother tagged him along, hurried, but the kid stopped to look at the violinist. Finally, the mother pushed hard, and the child continued to walk, turning his head all the time. This action was repeated by several other children. All the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes that the musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed for a while. About 20 gave him money, but then continued to walk at their normal pace. He collected $32 in total. When he finished playing and silence took over, no one noticed it, no one applauded, nor was there any recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the most talented musicians in the world. He had just played one of the most intricate pieces ever written on a violin that was worth $3.5 million. 2 days before his playing in the subway, Joshua Bell had sold out a theater in Boston where the seats averaged $100. This is a real story. Joshua Bell playing incognito in the metro station was organized by the Washington Post as part of a social experiment about perception, taste, and priorities of people. The outlines were, in a commonplace environment at an inappropriate hour, do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognize the talent in an unexpected context? One of the possible conclusions from this experience could be, if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? And then it says, the above email circulated on the web since this took place in 2007 is actually true. Below is the video of the event as it took place. And then it just goes on to show the video afterwards. But that's pretty much it. That's the urban legend in its entirety. Again, word for word. And again, this is completely 100% true. Just like in the last video that I talked about back in 2018, this one is the same information, but word for word, and it is again 100% true. It actually happened. So let's talk about that here. Now, the first thing I wanted to get out of the way was, yes, it is nice to appreciate, stop a few moments, look at something that fascinates you, wonder about it, maybe enjoy it as it's happening. But you got to admit, there are some situations where people truly do not have the time to stop. And that, in this case, this urban legend was stating that 1,100 people went by. in about 45 minutes, almost making it seem like everyone there had the time and space to be able to just stand around and then listen to Joshua Bell as he played his violin. But again, some people truly may not have had that chance. Maybe they were late for work. Maybe there was something very important that they had to catch if they didn't do so right then and there. I mean, you can just imagine where if they have to go and hop on another train, and if they don't catch that train in time, that metro station location, then that's it. They got to wait another 30 minutes or so, just to give an example. So you can always forgive those people. There's absolutely some circumstances where you can't make that time. But for the rest that could do so, it is an interesting social experiment, because it makes you wonder, how is it that he, one of the most celebrated violinists within the entire world, could do so, could perform a concert a couple days back, sell it out, $100 plus each. Remember, that's the average. So there was probably tickets that sold for a lot more as well. And on top of that, be able to have a $3.5 million violin that could have that music beautifully played. How could he do that in one scenario there? And in another scenario, just have a bunch of people walking around there in a metro station, not paying him attention, and, oh yeah, collecting about $32 worth of tips throughout the entire experience. How can the two both coexist? It's interesting stuff. It reminds me of there's that artist Banksy, right? Have you heard of him? Banksy, the guy that has, the anonymous guy, apparently anonymous, that has those famous stencils. Is that what they're called? Those paintings that are done on the walls, although in some cases he does other very intricate pieces of artwork, if you could even call it that, and scenarios that are tied to them. He just has them randomly done, but then when they're done, all of a sudden, because his name is associated with it, that becomes a multi-million-dollar piece of artwork right then and there, just because it's him, just because people start surmising that it's him, and then he reveals something associated with that particular piece of artwork, showcasing proof that it was him. But imagine there was an experiment, I think, that he did where, I believe it was him, and someone in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong on this, or maybe change it up to make sure that I'm saying the right thing afterward. But apparently he was selling something on the streets, and he was comparing two pieces of artwork. It was something along those lines. And he was saying, would you buy this for this price, or would you buy that for that price? And it was one of his artworks. But because people didn't know that that was him, then people were refusing to buy that particular artwork, because again, they didn't know it was him and it was his stuff. And then when that happened, that caused people to miss out on potentially having a multi-million-dollar piece of artwork right then and there, just because of the fact that they weren't aware that was him. So kind of similar to this situation involving this violinist, this Joshua Bell. The fact that they didn't know it was him doing this within the metro station, people were just nonchalantly walking by whenever they had the chance to instead listen to a free performance for 45 minutes right then and there, right when they could have been a couple of days back shelling out more than $100 average for tickets. Now they could listen to him for free. Which one is the correct one? Obviously both are, but it just gives the idea again of perception, and how some people will be able to pay far more when they know something is there, and then when they don't know it's there, it's a whole different situation. Interesting stuff. I think I might have gotten some of that information on the Banksy story wrong. It was a couple of years back that I remember reading about it, but it was pretty interesting, pretty fascinating stuff. So let me know, please, what you guys and gals think about this story right here. Great social experiment. I did like it when I heard it back then, and I like it still now. So great stuff. All right, everyone. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.